Hi everyone, so the piece I decided to cover for homework was the Angela Davis piece, From the Prison of Slavery to the Slavery of Prison. Basically, it goes into detail to how we get to the prison industrial complex that we have today, the system of mass incarceration that we know today in America. We know America has the biggest prison population in the entire world. Out of any other country, America has the biggest prison population of over 2,300,000 people. And we look at it now and we're like, how did it get to be this big behemoth? How did it get to be so big? And we don't really understand. Essentially what Angela Davis does is she breaks it down into the origins of the prison industrial complex as we know it today. Angela Davis, she covers the convict leasing system post-slavery and how when the slaves were emancipated, we had this array of black bodies out and about, and the white supremacy, they had to figure out, how are we going to get these bodies to work for us again, now that slavery is illegal. The 13th Amendment says, basically you're free, all men are free, and they're not slaves anymore unless they commit a crime and they go to jail and become a felon. So basically we had this mass incarceration pattern begin in the late 1800s. Even during Reconstruction, it was occurring. Convict leasing, and you had these private corporations and companies using this prison labor to get the work done for them. This started 2 centuries ago. This is nothing new. This is something that's been going on. And Angela Davis, she critiques Frederick Douglass because she's saying, he was one of the most enlightened scholars of that time. How did something like this slip right underneath his nose? He's advocating for the freedom of black people, of black men, and this happens when they go out and vote and they have the rights and they have jobs and they can vote. There's this assumption, Angela Davis says, that there's this assumption that basically the people in prisons deserve to be there. They need to go to prison, they need to learn that they have to be, contributing citizens of this country, and they can't commit crimes. So maybe that was one of the reasons why Frederick Douglass didn't exactly call out this whole complex situation for what it was. It was an evolution of slavery. It was an evolution of this racial caste system. So maybe that's how it continued to go unchecked. Although a few scholars, they did write papers on them, but these scholars, they didn't have either the political backing or didn't have, the accreditation behind their name. The scholars that were during Frederick Douglass's time. Now there were scholars afterwards who recognized this trend and they called it out, but Angela Davis she's saying, why didn't Frederick Douglass and scholars like him call this out at the very beginning of the situation? Now she isn't blaming them. She isn't blaming Frederick Douglass for the prison industrial complex, but she's saying maybe the lack of recognition toward it, maybe that's where things went wrong. And I learned a lot from this piece. I learned the true roots of the mass incarceration system as we know it today. Angela Davis wants the reader to understand that the mass incarceration as we know it today, it didn't come out of nowhere. It started 2 centuries ago. It's been evolving, it's been growing. This is a systemic, institutional machine that has been going on for centuries. And now that we're addressing it the way it needs to be addressed, we might be able to do something about it. Or it might evolve into its next form of racial caste. We had slavery, then we had convict leasing, then we had Jim Crow, now we have mass incarceration. And who knows what's next? Well, actually, analysts are pointing towards surveillance, home surveillance being the next form of racial caste systems in this country. So keep out for that. But I didn't know the true roots of the mass incarceration system as we know it today. So I learned that from this piece.